Hi everyone. I've got Erin Elliott in the house today, and she is a very well-known member of one of the biggest Bashar groups on Facebook called Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. And she's an awesome, she's got an awesome knowledge about ETs, and she's also an admin on this group. So she's very, very well versed in the spiritual awakening and ET topic. And today we're gonna have an exciting podcast for you guys. So let's start, Erin. If you would like to, you're welcome to introduce yourself a little bit, and then we can jump straight into the podcast.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Judith. I really appreciate it. And I am Erin Elliott, and I'm very interested in extraterrestrial information, in particular Bashar's information. And so I'm adminning with some other people a Facebook group, and I put a lot of energy and creativity into that group, and it's very enjoyable for me. It's not the only thing I do. I also have a lot of other hobbies and a career as a massage therapist that I also enjoy a lot. So I'm very thankful to be here and to discuss one of my favorite topics.
Awesome. I'm so happy for that. And we had already had another podcast with a lot of important information that Erin shared from her knowledge base. And I will definitely link that podcast at the top for you guys and also in the description. So this is just sort of like a continuance from our previous podcast. But you guys are welcome to also watch this. You will get a lot of information out of it as well. And I'll just start you off with the first question. How has your understanding of spiritual awakening evolved since we last spoke?
It's evolved in a way that things that I used to define as mundane have taken on a more spiritual feel. It's been a gradual process, but I feel like spirituality is integrating into every aspect of my life. It's not just relegated to the time I'm meditating or the time I'm doing yoga or something of that sort. So it's filtering in to doing dishes and doing laundry and things that I may have defined as more mundane before.
Yeah, so how do you feel that we are more in a higher frequency, and that's why you can actually connect through this channel better, your higher self, or what do you think that caused it? Is it just because you let go of some limitations, some negative beliefs in the meanwhile, or are you just now really focusing on integrating all the knowledge that you've learned?
I think it was a conscious choice that I was putting some things above other things in my life that had more value. And although maybe I would find some things more preferable or more exciting, there are certain things that need to be done. And so instead of invalidating those things, rushing through them, I just decided that I would like to enjoy my life more in a more holistic way. So I started to become more mindful during those day-to-day activities.
That you haven't found previously, that uplifting, like doing the laundry, but then now you decided you're living in the moment and that's it, and you enjoying that as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
that's awesome. Okay, what new practices or techniques have you integrated into your spiritual journey? I think now we talked about that as well a little bit, but if you would like to add to that, you're welcome.
Sure. Well, it's winter where I live, and I've been a bit more sedentary and indoors than during the warmer months. So I scanned my physical body and I realized that I need a little bit more oxygenation and more activity to keep it in a healthy state. So I've started to integrate DMT breathwork into my practices. And I also started a cardiovascular exercise routine. So those are two of the newest things that I've integrated into my spiritual practices.
Great. And I just wanted to ask you, I remember from the previous a Bashar channeling that they shared online. I also listened to it, and you asked a question about how can you connect to extraterrestrials. Do you have to be outside? Because you mentioned that it's winter where you are, and you can't. Could you have to be outside physically? And then Bashar suggested that you don't have to. You can just sit and imagine inside your house as well, to see things. Have you actually started doing that already?
Well, the question was, I've had experiences inside my house with connecting to extraterrestrials, but I was actually asking about having group encounters inside, like CE5s are group
Oh,
encounters outside. And so I was asking him if we could have a group inside and do certain things and have physical manifestations of ET contact. And I haven't done that yet. I was dealing with some other things first, where I couldn't invite people into my house at this time. But now I am able to probably host a group at my house, so we'll experiment with that. But I've experienced a few things over the years on my own of seeing physical manifestations of other beings in my house, in particular, an elemental being. I felt like I saw one once. It was just a white. It was on a video, though. It wasn't that I saw it with my eyes, but sometimes the videos can actually capture things that our eyes can't capture for some reason. It was like a twirling little white being. I couldn't make out the features on the video, but it was like twirling in spirals. So that was one thing that I remember seeing indoors.
that sounds amazing. Awesome. I love it. Have you had any profound spiritual experiences recently that shifted your perspective?
Yes, I have had one that comes to mind. This is the reason why I haven't been able to host people for because my dog passed away a week ago, and
Oh,
he
sorry,
was.
dear.
Thank you. But he was, for 3 months, he was steadily declining, and I didn't want to bring people into my house during that time. But he also, when he passed away through euthanasia eventually, I felt like he transmitted something to me through his facial expression. It was a very peaceful transition, but when I saw his face when he transitioned, I could see heaven and I felt like it was a gateway to heaven just by looking at the look on his face and in his eyes. It looked like he was so full of awe and like he had such a huge realization at the end. And for the rest of the day, I could sense huge shifts within myself and within my soul. And so that was a big spiritual experience that I've had since the last time we've spoken.
Well, that sounds amazing. And it's still that it's a sad event. It's great that you experienced something like this. Now you can connect with him the whole time, He knows that maybe he's still around you the whole time, like a spirit guide or hanging out around you. Because when my dog died years ago, I mean, even after years later, I could still feel his presence. I would dream with him and I could physically like feel his presence. So, it's just a different state, but it's still sad to have them let them go in from this physical reality. No, you're 100% right. And how do you handle spiritual plateaus or times when progress feels stagnant?
Well, sometimes I enjoy the plateaus because sometimes spiritual awakening can be intense. So I take those plateaus and do self-care, and ground myself more and take those times to integrate what I've experienced in the awakening more. But if it feels stagnant, sometimes I ask myself, what would I have to believe to be true is to define this as stagnant? Because that kind of has a negative tone to it. Am I invalidating this experience as being less spiritual as other times when things might feel more exciting? Or am I not following the formula during this time, where it feels stagnant? So I do take that time to self-investigate and release any negative beliefs that might be underneath that feeling of stagnation.
Yes, I mean, one of my biggest struggles is procrastination. I tell you that, and that's like the worst for me because I've got such big dreams in my head, and then when I hit, a little bit of a roadblock, I can give up so easily. So it's really for me, it can be very discouraging. So yeah, that can be not a nice feeling. And what role do gratitude and self-love play in spiritual growth? What do you think?
Well, I think, a plant needs love, and it needs fertilizer, it needs sun, it needs water to grow. And I feel like self-love is very important for us to grow spiritually and in all ways. And so I think that that's the role that self-love plays in helping us grow. And gratitude is it's a state that we all like. We enjoy feeling grateful, we enjoy feeling appreciative. It's a marker of being in a high vibration. And I think the role for that is it tells us that we are in a high vibration if we are feeling that gratitude. And it's great because there's the gratitude lists we can make. It's a state of being that we can easily cultivate by focusing on things that we have here and now that we appreciate, that we are grateful for. And it can grow through focusing on those things that we are grateful for.
Yes, no, that I think we should all take that on and do that because we always forget all the good things in our life. We just, look at the things that are not there. So it's definitely something that we can all do every day. What advice would you give to someone experiencing fear during an ET encounter? I personally had this before. I always somehow fear somehow always creeps in for me, and that's one of my biggest things that I don't know how to let go of. Even though I want to let go of it, I don't know. How do you feel about it? Do you feel any fear or anything when you had any experiences?
Um, I believe I have felt fear during experiences, but it hasn't been the most prominent emotion that I feel during most of my ET encounters. I think the advice I would have is to remember that it's your physical reaction to being exposed to a higher frequency. And if you can remember that it's just an instinct that your body wants to survive, that you can talk to that part of yourself and soothe it and tell it there's no reason to be fearful. It's This is just bringing to the surface things that you need to look at because of the difference in frequency that you're experiencing with a very high vibrational being. And just do your best to let go of the fear, and also remember that you have the power to choose how you interact with any situation in your life. And you have the power to create your own experience of anything. So you can work with the fear in that way, in a loving way, and allow it to transform into something else.
Have you ever had that feeling of that weird, like uncomfortable feeling of, a lot of people talk about it when they have an ET contact experience, like when they see a ship or a being appears to them. It's like they physically feel like almost like this very uncomfortable feeling that we're not used to. It happened to me only once before, but have you ever experienced, what I'm talking about is not fear, but it's just like this feeling of when you start feeling that other entity that you're not used to, that frequency.
I have felt that before. Yes, I have felt that before. And usually it all lasts for not that long because I'm like, I don't
Mm.
want to experience this, and I'm able to just shut it off, and then the encounter is over at that point. But I think we're going to have these experiences more and more, and it's part of learning how to accept it and work with our state of being so we can stay with those things longer.
Yes, yes, I also wish that that can happen for me as well,
Mhm.
definitely.
Mhm.
Do you believe ETs are actively guiding humanity towards a collective awakening?
Yes, I do believe that. I look at Bashar, he's actively guiding us, I feel, and I think that they're coming through in ways that we're not aware of, that we might not even define as ETs, but they may be connecting with certain other teachers that don't even claim to be ETs, but I feel like they are influencing us with our own permission to be influenced, of course, along with other non-physical beings. They're all
Yes,
guiding.
yes, yes, like spirit guides or like elemental beings. So it's not just ET specifically,
Mm.
I agree. Are there signs people can look for that indicate they are ready for ET contact?
Yeah, I believe that if you feel like you are very happy and ecstatic and you're in the flow of your life and you are vibrating at that high level, you're going to be more compatible with that kind of experience. Although other people have had ET contacts during times when they are experiencing a need for help, like during surgeries, people have had encounters, or during crises, they might have encounters. So there's not really one sign to look for, but it can come when it's very unexpected. But I think overall, if you're raising your vibration and you're more like them energetically, it's a good marker that you're going to be more compatible with having those kinds of experiences with them.
And like you said, it almost like automatically happens because they will appear in your reality anyway, because you've got a higher frequency, so you will match the frequency a bit better.
Hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think that disclosure of ET presence will impact spiritual beliefs worldwide?
I think that it will, when we're exposed to ETs and their vibration, that's going to activate something within us that is going to be more unifying because they operate from a level where they are aware of their interconnection between everything in the world. They have more of a unified state of being, and I think that's going to kind of rub off on our beliefs as well, that we're going to be more open to sensing the underlying truths that are underneath all spiritual practices, and there won't be as much division between different types of religions, different types of spiritualities.
I like that timeline that you're talking about. I also prefer that, to other timelines. I always think of the unified kind of timeline where we are unified and we strive towards advancing ourselves, rather than strife, which is, to the timeline where people just have strife between them, like division and stuff, definitely. Do you think humanity is on the brink of a major shift in collective consciousness?
Yes, I think that ET contact is reflective of that shift, that's going to be a huge change for our perspective. It's something that we see in sci-fi movies. It's something that we have in fantasy stories. But when that magic actually is something that's real for everyone, it's going to open so many doors for us to have a more multidimensional and magical experience as living as humans on Earth.
Awesome. What do you think the purpose of dreams in exploring consciousness?
I think that they can serve many purposes. There's lucid dreaming. If someone becomes skilled at lucid dreaming, then they can actually have the ability to change their template level reality, which would then be reflected in their physical reality. Um, there's also, of course, we've all heard about analyzing dreams, which can help us reveal unconscious and subconscious patterns within ourselves. And there's also connecting with other beings through accessing parallel realities through our dreams. So those are
And
three.
yes, have you had a lot of experience in dream time?
Not a lot with lucid dreaming, but I have about 3 lucid dreams that I remember per year on average. And it hasn't been something that I've been able to perfect or gain more skill at. I don't know why my dreams aren't regular, unpredictable. Sometimes I'll go a long time without dreaming at all, and other times I have a lot of dreams. But I've done a lot of, I think the part that for me is the most noticeable is the actual interacting with other beings. That's uh, my main avenue for doing that is through dreams.
Yes, yes, I understand. And I have a lot of times I realize after a dream that I have that memory that is it screen memory, that I know. I have a lot of a lot of dreams where I'm on a plane, with other people. We fly in the plane, or we going on the slide, like some cool slide, water slide down somewhere, and there's lots of there's people also sliding with me, and like weird screen memories, but whatever makes sense,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or I don't know if you ever had that in a dream where you're trying to call someone, like you've got your cell phone and then you can't call. There's like you can't type the number and there's no reception, nothing's wanna work. That happens to me a lot. And then what happened the one time is that it was recently where I actually looked at my cell phone in the dream and I see all these interesting hieroglyphics on the dream. Then it made sense to me that why I couldn't call anyone in my dream is because I wasn't here. So
Oh,
ever since I made this connection, I don't have those dreams anymore because I used to have that dream like every maybe second week,
oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's just the interesting thing. I wonder if other people also have those experiences. How can people use altered states of consciousness for healing and growth? What's your input on that?
Oh, I think that's a great way to use it, altered states, because when you change your state of consciousness, you're able to release patterns that may be holding you in patterns of disease because you're in a different state of being. So that automatically means you're changing something profoundly about your perspective. And sometimes, that might not hold when you come back to your so-called normal state. But I feel like the altered states they help you see things in a different way and gain insights from looking at things from that other perspective. So it can help with um, gaining insights that can help you to heal. And of course, seeing from an altered state is conducive to growth because you're seeing in a new way. And anytime you see something in a new perspective, I define that as growing because you're expanding your consciousness in a way to experience something in a new way. And you can learn a lot from doing that.
Awesome. How has shadow work played a role in your recent personal transformation?
Well, shadow work for me has been kind of just whenever a negative emotion comes up to bring light to the belief that it might be hidden beneath it. So for me, it's just an ongoing process of doing that. In my earlier years, I had more intense, deeper phases of shadow work, I think, but now it's been kind of more of a spread out, integrated experience in my life. So I just take it as it comes.
Okay, great. What advice would you give to someone just starting their shadow work journey?
I would give the advice of remember to take care of your physical body during this process because the body will need to integrate the changes that you're making through shadow work. So for me, I like to get massages or to do like float tank experiences. things that are very nurturing and pampering to myself, so I can smoothly slide into the new perspective that I've gained through the shadow work.
Awesome. And how do you navigate emotions like fear, guilt, or shame when they arise?
I ask myself, what would I have to believe is true in order to feel that way? And I do my best to find out what the belief is that's generating those emotions, and to investigate them and see if they are really necessary for me to hold on to for some reason, or am I willing to let them go? Am I able to let them go? That's how I do that.
Awesome. No, that's definitely I also try to do that most of the time. What role do relationships play in revealing and healing our shadows?
Well, I think a lot of us have blind spots to our shadows we don't know, and what things that we need to look at. And of course, relationships are good at bringing those things to the surface. We often feel triggered in relationships, which can help us find those things that are hidden in shadow that we need to look at. So I think it's a very, very powerful way to do shadow work.
Yes. Can you share a moment where facing a deep fear brought about profound clarity?
Yes, I can actually share about when my dog was declining, and I kept having this fear of seeing him in pain, of him being in pain. And I was worrying about the decision of when to go forward with the euthanizing. And I realized that I faced this fear of him being in pain. And um, by the end, I just realized that all of that worrying and all of that doubt about my decision making was a lack of trust in the way my life was unfolding. And so I learned from that situation, I had great clarity that none of that worrying really helped. None of that fear helped me or him. And it actually turned out that he did not experience a large amount of pain. He was uncomfortable at the end. He wasn't able to stand up on his own. But he thankfully didn't go through a lot of pain, and I think I went through more pain just trying to worry about him and decide. So going through that process and facing that situation helped me understand more clearly that a lot of times things are just unfolding that the way that they naturally need to unfold. And it would be helpful for me to let go of more of that hyper need to control the situation, and let go of fears of making the wrong decision, and just to trust the way my life unfolds more.
That's a great thing to actually give advice to other people how to deal with this, because everybody faces loss, if it's a human being or animal, everybody faces that. So that's a great way to explain it. Thank you. How do you personally maintain a high vibrational frequency amidst challenges?
Well, I don't think challenges automatically mean that your vibration is going to lower, because there are many challenges that are exciting, and challenges have a lot of potential energy within them. So if I am defining a challenge negatively, I work on how can I redefine this challenge to be a positive challenge. And so therefore, if I was defining it to be negative, maybe my vibration had been lowered by that negative definition. And then once I redefine the challenge as a positive one, my vibration will raise again, because it won't be being held down by those negative definitions.
Awesome. What do you think lowers people's frequencies most in daily life?
I think holding on to resistance, and holding and not following the formula, not following their excitement, staying with a job they hate. It can be different for different people, but doing harmful acts to themselves or others, I think it varies on a case by case basis, but overall is not following their excitement, not being their true selves.
Yes. I agree with you. Do you believe time travel and interdimensional travel are linked to consciousness?
Yes, I feel like that they are linked to consciousness because whenever your consciousness needs to be at a particular level in order to have the opportunities to know how to do those things, interdimensional travel and time travel. So your consciousness needs to be at a certain level in which those opportunities are available to you. That's how I see that they're linked.
That's awesome. Yes, yes, you are right. How do you explain the connection between ET contact and multidimensional realities?
Well, ET contact, it will activate our multidimensional awareness more. I think we're all living in a multidimensional reality. We are multidimensional beings, but as human beings, we're not as aware of that as ETs are. And so whenever we have ET contact and we're exposed to ETs that are aware of that, it's going to rub off on us in a way, and we'll also have those activations in us where we'll be able to experience more of our multidimensionality.
Yeah, awesome. What is your perspective on humanity's role in the greater universal ecosystem?
Well, we're masters of limitation, so we've created a lot of limitation on ourselves, and our our theme is to transform that, what you might call darkness, and transform it into light. And I think our role is to be an example for other beings in the universe of how we're doing that, since we've chosen such a limiting experience. I've heard that they learn from us certain things from what we've chosen, and so they don't have to go through it as extreme as we do. So they can learn from us about how we transform our challenges and limitations into light.
What are ET human hybrid children and how are they different from other beings? Like, I forgot to actually introduce this new topic. The ET hybrid, human hybrid children is, I think, one of your favorite topics, I think, what I can see from all your posts.
Mm-hmm.
So you can dive into that and maybe give a little bit of a background to people that don't know what they are. Obviously, it's quite a big topic actually in this community that we are in.
Yes, well, the ET hybrid humans are the hybrid children are the ones that Bashar refers to, hybrid children, are a blend of human DNA and gray DNA. So some of the humans on Earth, they've had their DNA taken and blended with the gray DNA on ships, and these beings are created. And they are very advanced beings, but they're similar to enough to us that they're going to be coming to Earth eventually and acclimating and joining with our society and blending. And we'll move forward into becoming the sixth hybrid race as we intermingle with them. And some of us will have children with them and we'll evolve together in that way.
Yes, yes, I think this is quite a controversial topic because I think some of these connections that people have, they kind of attribute it to abductions, which is the um, negative wording for that, which deep down on a level, a person agrees to that, in your higher self. So only in the physical reality, some people experience it as a negative, memory. But I think it's very exciting. And how did you first learn about the concept of hybrid children and what drew you to this topic?
I learned about it through learning about Bashar and his information through Bashar. I What drew me to it was I found a great resonance with the idea of that method of evolving, of blending with another species, an alien species, and having these amazing magical children come to Earth and evolving with them. And I just felt a natural resonance with the idea. And I have had different experiences that let me know that I'm involved with what's going on with them as well.
Great. You will be able to share, I think, through some of the questions, your story.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think hybrid children exist and what's their purpose? I guess you kind of already answered that question, but you're welcome to add to it if you
Okay.
like.
Yeah, sure. Well, the Greys, I think most people probably who are watching this know, but the Greys, they lost their ability to reproduce. So they wanted to carry on their lineage and their DNA, and so they tunneled into our parallel reality that has a viable human DNA, and so they got our DNA and they're blending it with theirs, so their DNA and their lineage can live on through these hybrid children. So that's one of the reasons they exist as a collective, and also to help us evolve into the Homo galacticus, the sixth hybrid race where we're heading.
Are there any specific ET races commonly associated with the hybridization process? You mentioned already the Greys, but are there any other races that you can mention?
Sure, the mantis beings are very involved in it, and the Sasani, the Yael, the Shah Yael, those are all involved in it. I don't know how involved they are with the physical creation of the hybrid children. I don't think they're as involved with that, but they are involved in the hybridization agenda as well. And there are many other races I think that are involved that I'm not. I don't have that much information about those other races.
Yes. How do hybrid children interact with humanity or assist in its evolution?
Well, right now they aren't often physically on Earth, and I don't think they interact very much, if at all, with human beings, but they come to Earth and they go into specific isolated areas where they can learn to acclimate with the Earth itself. And they also go into other areas, like I've heard they go into abandoned apartment buildings and just kind of learn different things about humanity there for a while. And then they go back to their ships, and then different groups will come to the Earth. I've also heard that they may have bases under the ocean and under the Earth that they visit, but I don't think any of them are here permanently right yet. So right now they communicate more through dreams and through telepathy. Whenever someone is following their passion, you might sense the hybrid children more, or if there's something that they're interested in that they want to learn, they have the ability to kind of tune into their parents or to other people that they have an interest in what they're doing to learn more about the Earth. I don't really know exactly how that works. Maybe it's through the DNA or resonance, I guess. And then so they pick up information from us through that.
And when you connect with hybrid children, like if you have children yourself, for example, if a person has hybrid children, how do you distinguish that energy from other ETs? You know, when you feel or extraterrestrial presence, can you distinguish that energy?
I think it has more childlike qualities to it.
Oh,
That's what I've
okay.
found for myself personally. I think it is fairly similar to the Yael energy that I've experienced, but the thing that sets the hybrid children apart for me is the kinds of scenarios that I have with them in my dream state, like feeling of being a caretaker or a mother to younger children, and teaching back and forth, kind of exchange of kind of information in that way. That's teaching scenarios.
So you see yourself, for example, on a ship teaching these younger children like a teacher, or like more in a relaxed setting, like as a mom, like holding them or something like that.
I've had both. I've had the teaching isn't like I'm usually there. I think there was one time when I was like standing in front of a classroom, but more often than not, the teaching comes through scenarios that I'm put in. I might not even realize I'm dreaming, but I'm in certain scenarios where I might be triggered emotionally. For me, I feel like one of my jobs was to teach them about different negative emotions, since they don't experience negative emotions, but they still need to learn how to deal with people and to interact with people who do and understand them. So I was put in different situations where they can observe how I respond. And none of it was really that negative. It was just kind of small irritations or reactions in certain situations. And then I felt like I was being observed, how my reaction was. But then later I would have some sort of like reward and time with the children where I would feel how much love they have. And I knew that I was interacting with hybrid children at that point, like after that situation. So that's kind of the main type of teaching that I've noticed that I do.
So, wow, I love that. And I assume that you do know that you have these ET hybrid children, right? ET human hybrid children, because like you mentioned, you know that. And then how do you think that how do someone knows if they have hybrid children? Like how do they know for sure?
Well, I actually didn't know for sure. I did know I interacted with a lot of hybrid children and I felt love for them, but I didn't really know if they were my own or someone else's, because a lot of my experiences were felt like I was a babysitter to them, not actually their mom. And um so but then eventually I had a session with Bashar where I talked about one experience, very powerful experience I had with a hybrid child. And I asked him, was that my hybrid child or was that some other relationship? And he said that was more like your hybrid child. So I do know I have at least one, and I have a lot of connections to children. I think I have more than one, but I don't know for sure. So some people just know that they're the moms. They know that that they are. And some people, I think most people think that they probably are parents, but maybe they don't know for sure how many they have or if they are or not. And some people are sure that they don't have any, I think. So I think there's a wide range of knowing you and finding out that information over time as part of the surprise in the process of it.
Yes, and I also heard that, for example, the smaller gray beings, they actually more like their bodies are 3D printed, obviously with a very high technology, high level technology, and they can put a consciousness into these 3D printed bodies. So the smaller grays are actually sort of like worker grays, and they don't have such emotions like us. The grays lost that emotional connection. And then, when these children need physical, emotional connection, it's like when you have a child, they say, if they don't hold the baby, it's going to die, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same with these human hybrid babies, is that that's why they need the moms or a human connection, that love when the mom holds a baby, because I think that those babies wouldn't survive otherwise. And I think that's just a theory that I have in my mind, that maybe these grays, that does the actual work, because obviously I think why they use these smaller grays, these because they are like almost like I wouldn't say a machine, but it's like a biologically 3D printed body. So they won't catch, for example, viruses and things like that, but the consciousness is in there. It's not just like a robot, or a AI robot or something like that. And I think that I'm not even sure. That's actually a really good question. Do you think that there are still gray beings out there, original grays that are physical, biological beings, like physical beings that hasn't been like genetically, like these 3D printed bodies, you know, these smaller grays? Or do you think, is there any grays out there that are still got that original gene and they're physical, where they can catch a virus or something like that, you know?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think that they changed they're able to change their bodies in a certain way that maybe they aren't susceptible to viruses, but I don't know for sure, because they were able to, to change their DNA in a way so they wouldn't experience emotion. So thinking maybe they could have, by now with their technology, maybe they could um, do something to their DNA where they wouldn't have viruses other than just, 3D printing another body out. But that's just my theory. I don't know if there's still like an original gray out there. I kind of think that there are, because people still seem to have encounters with those types
Like
that
a
are,
tall grays or
yeah.
something. They call them tall grays, or
Mhm.
you know, that type of, yeah, I agree. I also heard connections like that, yes. And can you describe any telepathic or emotional exchange you have had with hybrid children? You have mentioned already some of the connections you had with them, but that feeling of love and everything. But is there anything else you would like to mention?
Well, sure. I think that some of I mentioned before, like how I would be teaching them, and then later I would have like a rewarding experience with them. And um, a lot of times that had to do with telepathic connection. And I learned through that there's many different levels of telepathy. Like I had an experience where I experienced something that I saw a hybrid teenager, and she was experiencing like physical changes in her body that were positive, and I could feel like my body felt like that as well, like, and I felt her joy and her emotion. I don't think I really had any thoughts that I shared with her, but I was feeling her emotion and her physical feelings in her body. So I think they've taught me that there are many different kinds of telepathy and different levels that you can have a telepathic connection with another being. It can be full mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, whole resonance, but it could also be, maybe you only feel their emotion and you don't feel what they're going through physically. So that's something I thought interesting to share.
Yes, no, that's very interesting. Thank you. And the big question is, do you hybrid children look like? Do they look more like humans or ETs, or like a mix of both?
Well, I think they all look different, and some of them will look more like ETs, and some of them will look more like humans. The ones that I've seen in my dream states look more like humans, but that could also be partially a screen memory that my consciousness can only translate as looking more like a human. But I've heard that they have many different skin colors that are representative of all our different races here, and hair colors and eye colors. It's very diverse, and my understanding is that there's a whole wide range of how they'll look. But in general, especially the ones that are here, first, I think they'll look probably more similar to a human, but they might have larger eyes than we do, maybe a slightly larger head.
I just wanted to share this one experience. We were in Hungary, in Budapest, and we were in the underground. So we're traveling in this underground, and I see two teenagers, okay, but they looked a lot like twins, but a boy and a girl, you know. I just couldn't immediately, when I looked at them, I immediately knew that they were, I was convinced that they were hybrids. I cannot explain it to you. They
Mhm.
looked human, but the energy was totally different. But there was something different about them as well physically. But I just couldn't put my finger on it, you know. And I immediately, that came to mind, that they must be hybrid children, because they also looked at me and they wanted to see my reaction, to see if I recognized that. You know, it's almost like they were anticipating my reaction, like, did I recognize them as hybrid children or did they blend in? But obviously, because I listen to a lot of this information, I'm more exposed to it. For me, it's different, than an average person, like maybe never heard of this before,
Yeah.
So that was amazing.
Well, that's really, thank you for mentioning that, because I forgot to mention about their appearance, that they, for me, I've noticed that they actually, they might look human physically, but because their energy is so different and so alien, that it actually, they have different mannerisms and different ways of moving that make them kind of look physically differently. They have that alien vibe about them in a way. I've experienced that too. But as far as those two twins that you saw, have you ever heard of the precursors?
Yes, but you're welcome to explain it to the audience.
Okay.
Please do.
Well, yeah, they are beings here that are here that roam around, and they do take readings on people. They aren't human. They're I think they might have similarities to the hybrid children genetically, but they might not be hybrid children per se. But they are here to try to see if you can recognize them as being not from this world, and they roam around and take those readings. So, I mean, they could be, those twins, of course, could be hybrid children, or they might also be these precursor beings.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What you mentioned, I never thought of that. That's excellent.
Mhm.
That's very cool. Have hybrid children shared messages about their purpose or humanity's future with you by any chance?
Not directly, like they don't say my purpose here is to do this or that, but through our interactions, I've picked up on, their purpose is to help us evolve and help us become more of ourselves. And I think that's going to expand into humanity as well, to the whole collective.
Yes, and do you believe hybrid children will integrate into human society in the future?
In the parallel reality that I'm navigating to, I believe that they will. Yes, maybe for some people who are watching this, maybe they'll navigate to another parallel reality that won't have hybrid children, but I think it's relevant for my path.
Awesome. If you could ask one question from an advanced extraterrestrial being, what would it be?
Well, I actually have the opportunity to ask Bashar a lot of questions
Yes,
since I attend the live stream.
yes, of course.
So
We forget about that.
yeah. But recently I did submit a question to him about outcome. Like, I was wondering if one day we'll evolve to the point where we don't even think about an outcome. Like, every moment, we're so in the present moment that each moment is an outcome unto itself, and we're not focused at all on any type of other outcome. And I was just curious about that. So that's the question I most recently submitted to him. We'll see if he answers it.
Yeah, that sounds. Are you talking about outcome like it's almost like we insistent on what we want as an outcome, and then you just live in the moment, and this is what the outcome is in this moment.
Yeah, it's
Is that
like,
what you mean?
kind of, yeah, it's like each, we kind of see an outcome as being, sometimes we see it as being better than the process itself. This is why we are doing something, is or in order to get this particular outcome. But I was wondering if, like, there's a time when we'll just let that whole idea go and just be totally in the moment and not even think about an outcome, like not even do things for any type of particular outcome, just do it for the pure joy of doing it.
Yes.
Mhm.
And do you have any like wishes that extraterrestrials could do for you? Like my vision is always like, when in let's say 50 years time we had open contact, and I would love to just go on the spaceship with them, like just to I know it sounds silly, but I think it just would be nice, in a conscious state, because obviously in a dream state, or when they shift you into that reality, obviously we are, with the screen memory, we might be on ships and everything, but do you have any aspirations to something like that?
Um, Occasionally I do, but I feel like, especially since open contact has been kind of postponed even one more year,
Mm.
I've kind of let go of those fantasies for some degree. And I feel like some people in the community are so focused on, when open contact occurs, everything's going to be so much better. And so my focus right now is to just live in the moment and enjoy my life here. It is fun to fantasize sometimes about how life will change during that. But for me, I think that the most important state is to look at what I do have here. And I have connections with extraterrestrials, maybe not physical ones, but cultivating what I do have and appreciating that right now is is what I'm focused on. So kind of I'm kind of in a state of kind of letting go of those fantasies for a while.
Oh, that's a good,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a good thing that you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned that, just to bring us back to living in the now, you know.
Yeah.
And how do you see Earth evolving in the next 10 to 20 years in terms of ET contact and spiritual awareness?
I see it as really expanding in a way that um, that unification idea again, as our consciousness is going to expand to recognize that ETs are real and here with us, and it's going to be a huge shift. And I feel like that part of that evolution is blossoming right now within us, and we just need to shift to that reality through our state of being moment by moment, and following the formula and being more aware of our true self and expressing our truth, and we'll allow it to unfold out as it will. I think it's going to be amazing. And but I think, it can be even amazing without, if that didn't happen, there's still just as much of potential to be happy. Um, if that doesn't happen, other things that are unexpected could happen as well. That could be a whole different timeline and a whole different beautiful thing that occurs. But I know Bashar said that it is imminent, that we are going to have extraterrestrial contact, and I can't say exactly how that's going to unfold. From my experiences with ETs, it's going to be in a way that no one expects. A lot of it is going to be a surprise, and we're going to be awakened to things that we had no idea existed, or what it was like. So I'm excited, very excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm very excited. Thank you so much, Erin, for being here today and sharing all your knowledge with us. And will you please share where people can get hold of you, your social media handles, if you would like. And then I also put everything in the description, all your social media channels, and also Bashar's website, and also the formula, how
Okay,
people can follow the highest excitement.
thank you very much. Yeah, you can find me. I'm on Facebook, Erin Elliott, and the Facebook group is Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. It is not an official Facebook group, but we would welcome new members, and I look forward to connecting with anyone who might find an interest in connecting with me. Thank you very much for this opportunity, you did.
It's a pleasure. Thanks again, Erin.
Thank you.